Hello, I'm Colin Bradley. One of the most difficult things in portrait work is teeth. Very hard to get them looking natural. So I thought, what a good idea it would be if I was to show you how I do them. Now I've chosen a really good example. You can see how this could go very badly wrong. However, if you take your time and you choose the right pencils, you can do it. So I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to do this in little bits, but the first thing I'm going to be doing is drawing out the outline. Now I've already got a graphite line on that outline, so I'm just going to put this pink to slightly disguise it and also just give me the beginning of the edge of the lip, like that. And I'm going to carry on all the way around. And what I might also do, and think it's a good idea to do, is to come inside as well. These graphite lines won't show. Could rub them out, but there's no necessity for that. So there we are, that's the first little bit, and I'm going to do all of that. And then when you come back, I'll show you the next stage. Right, the next thing I'm going to be doing is putting in the light highlight there. That's quite intense, so we need quite a strong tone in there. Now there are other areas like that, so it's probably a good idea here just to start lightening up. This is a sand-coloured pastel matte paper I'm using, and it's perfect for this particular example. So that's fine, and just a little touch or two. You can always add it afterwards if you find that you want to lighten it up, just a little bit here. There we are. Now, the next colour I'm going to be using is a surprising colour, probably. It'll be this one. Because I've got the pinks all at the ready, and I've got another colour which I'll show you in a minute. This is that one. But you can't put that one. Can you imagine putting that on there? It will go, but you've got to put a cushion on before you start. So the grey would go in, and now I'll do this all over. And when I do this, I'll just show you the first little bit. Go right up to that edge. You don't want to go over the top of that. That's why I put that line in. Then you use a colour shaper. Now this is my colour shaper. I've brought you a little closer so you can see this operation. Now the colour shaper blends the colour into the paper. And we'll be doing this a lot. So there we got our first tone. So I'll do the rest of it and then come back and we'll show you the next colour. Right, so that's the grey on, and now the pink. Now I'm using different coloured pencils. You could just use the same brand if you haven't got the range, but this is a Carbothello. It's a bit lighter, as you can see, and this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build up a colour that will allow me to put that other colour on I was telling you about and showing you. And it gets just that little bit easier now because you've already got a base in, and that base is really important. You can see it beginning to come there. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with that. So that's the third colour. I put in white, grey, and the pink. And now the darker pink. Now this one we're starting to get a little bit of tone in it, but something remarkable here, and I'm going to show you how this works. It's still not the colour that I'm looking for, but we're getting there. We're getting the tone. But what's important is we're building up a layer, or layers if you like, of tone, which means the darker tones, when I put them on, won't register as being dark. Remember the example I gave you there? It's hard to believe that that's going on there, but it is. Okay, now that's the first little bit, and you can see what we're doing is just this little bit for the moment. Now I'm going to use this colour. Now this is the colour I use for the skin. It's always a good idea to try to include some colour back into it. So this is this tone here, and you'll see this almost straight away start to create the tone that I'm looking for there. Keep using your colour shaper because that's really important that you get that in. Now that's, you imagine now, if I would put the teeth in there, that would be not far off the colour. So I'm going to put that on all over, but in, there's an area here. Let me just show you that area there. Oh, pink first. It is actually quite important that you put the pink in. Let's just do this little bit. Here you can see the colour, can you? Coming through there. I'd love to show you all of it, but it's going to take a long time to do, and we haven't got the time. But as long as you see the important bits like that. Now this is the colour I was telling you about. That colour goes on now. It's not, doesn't register the same as this because we've got those undercolours in there. But you can see now that they're beginning to get that tone. Now I'm going to work on this just with those two pencils and then show you the end result. One thing here, we've got the white there. Now that has to be put back in again, and you keep repeating that until you finish the picture because it's very important. If you cover it all up, you can retrace your steps, but it's a good idea to put it in as you see it. So that's still quite strong. And when you see this again, it will be halfway towards that. There we are. Right, halfway stage. Now the big guns. Now let me show you how this works. If you press hard, you're in trouble. No, we don't do that. We do it very lightly, but because we've got those colours underneath here, I'll just do this little bit. Scary, sure is. Important though. I wouldn't do too much up here, just a little, and we're going to make it very dark in here in the wall, so we want to keep it fairly light. Really cut round that white as well. Just do it halfway here. Now I'm not pressing hard. If I did, it would end up like that. We don't want that. This is where the colour shaper comes in handy. It blends all of that in together. Now you can see how that's now beginning to work on there. You can retrieve the colour by bringing the colours back again, which I probably will do. But that is very close to that now. But as I did that, I looked at the whole. Remember I said we could bring a bit of colour back? Well, we can. Just a little bit of that maybe would look good. And maybe just a little touch of the pink as well. And that almost gives you that, not quite, but almost. Just put a little bit of extra. Now this is going to take a long time for me to do, so I'm going to show you little bits of this as I go along. But it's really, really important that you see as much as I can give you. And this is when, again, you can see that now beginning to get almost identical to that. But we do need, once again, that white. I emphasise this because it's critical that that goes in and stays there. Because if you didn't, probably a good idea is to take the colour off there. Otherwise it will bring the white in a colour we don't really want. There, look at that. Very close to that, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to carry on with that and show you little sections of this as I go along. Well, I'm almost at the end of this particular sequence. And as you can see, the lips are looking very, very close to that. Still not there yet, but close. Right, now blend that out and then I'll show you something quite remarkable. And to be honest, I didn't realise I would need to do it until I got to this stage. And I thought, something not quite right, something's missing. And then I realised what it was. So what I'm saying is you can't say for sure the colours that you're going to use are the colours that you're going to stick to. Because you could look at it and think, I can see another colour there, or another tone, or another effect which I'm looking for. Now, one of the things I will show you now is here. We're going to put a dot. You've got to see what I'm looking at here. You see, we're going to be looking at these dark areas. Now, these dark areas are darker than the lip, which means when we get there, we're going to have to lighten it up a little bit. So we'll do that at this stage. You can always do it afterwards. Pastel pencil doesn't dry on you, so you can always come back and add to it, and I would certainly have to do that. But you see now, I've almost created that top lip. I'll pull back. There's no me talking about it and not showing you. There we are. Now, what's this remarkable thing you're doing? Well, look at this here. Look at the lip, very dark. So what do? Well, what we do is what I've dust down here. Get the right colour, this one. This is the colour I used here for all of these. So, as I said, I want to use the same colour. I'll turn it on its side so I can do it easier for you. This is a darker colour. Not the final colour. We're going to have to put another colour on, even deeper than this, to create the effect that I want there. But this is getting close to it, and we can carry on with it. I want to spit all over it, Colin. I've already done it down here, so you can just to test out the effect. And when I did, I wouldn't have believed that I could actually put this on here, but you can see how good it is. Colour that I've used here extensively, through here and here. And we can come down a little bit further, even to here. All of these tips I'm giving you here are going to make that smile beautiful. Now, I've spent enough time on that. Now, usually I can't get any darker than that, so I've got to find another dark colour. And I'll need to do that because I need to come in here. But let's just finish this little bit off here. And it wouldn't help if I pressed hard on here. I still wouldn't get that same degree of strength. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with that. Just finished it off, but we're nearly there. And there is going to be a time when I shall actually put the teeth in before I finish the lips. The reason being is I want to see how that compares, just as I've done here. I've made this a little darker. Let me just show you what I did there. These are the two colours I used, that one and that one. I need to make that darker there. It looked dark enough, but it's not. So put that again. This is colour is 685 again is Carpathello. Now it looks too rich there, doesn't it? But when you put this on top of it, it quietens that down. Then again, colour shaper. Clean it, otherwise you're going to spread all the lip colour in it, and that darkens that. Now we're getting there. It used to be just a little bit darker than that, but for this experiment, that will be good enough. That's the difference it makes, you see. Use your finger, and let's just tied it up a little bit. Now I've got to look now and find another colour, and it's the colour we'll be using in here. Give me a minute. 175. Now watch this, folks. Whoa, blimey, Cole. Now that is dark, isn't it? Do you need to be as dark as that? You do, yes. Otherwise it won't look right. I did put it in here and in here as an addition. And just a little bit in here. Let's put a bit more in here. And now we can use the colour shaper again. This time, slight difference. We're now using it to what if you put it too much on? I'll show you what we do. I'll deliberately do it so that I can show you how I can change that. Ivory. A little bit of ivory. And you keep going backwards and forwards until you get it as you want it. Either touch your finger or you can use colour shaper, but I'm using my finger now. See? Okay, still got a way to go, but we're getting there. So I'm just going to finish this off now. I put a little bit more of this on here. I'll have to speed it up now because time is of the essence. So I should put that on there, blend it, and probably leave it alone once I finish that. As I said, I haven't finished the lips completely. I've got to go back over them again. But we need to do the teeth now. So the obvious colour is white. Now I'm going to do one. And then what I'll do is I'll show you the others in little bits. But this one will... Now this particular tooth here overlaps that one, so I'm going to do that. If it's a portrait, you've got to be true to your portrait. Like that. Anyway, let's do this one. Now this has to be solid white. You can't afford to have any of the sand colour paper showing through. Like that. And use a colour shaper again, but this time you've got to clean it off, otherwise you're going to have an awful problem. White doesn't like interference. And this is what I do here. I just rub it on my palm of my hand, and that gets it all off. And it also picks up some of the oil that's on the skin, and that helps. So there we are. build that. Now what happens when you blend these, you have to use a colour shape, you can't use your finger to get in here. What happens is it tends to push it right into the paper, and that's quite good because it gives you a slight tone there that is particularly useful here. Now, one of the secrets to this is we're not there yet, but when we get there, is to put that shadow in there. Right? It's the shadows that push the teeth back. Right. And then I put ivory in, believe it or not. You probably can't see that on there, but there is an ivory look. And there's another colour. Can you think what that is? We've used it already. That's right. That one. Now, this is very strong, but because we got the whites underneath, it's not going to show up that strong. But you'll have that lovely tone that's there. Colour shaper. Make sure we got the right one. Now that's good, but it's not finished yet. And I should be doing the other teeth as well. But just as I did with the lips, I'm going to go round underneath there because it helps me to see how it's going to work. I'm just wondering what colour I think I can use this one. We've got the teeth at the bottom. Probably a good idea to do those at the same time. Yeah, that's it. That would be the base colour. And that, as you probably can't see it on the screen, but that is a very dark version of that. And that's where we put these other colours we've got here in, probably those two, and then a little touch of 175. Anyway, I'll see. But there, we're nearly there. We just need to be just a little bit. In fact, I'll probably put this one in next. Because it will give me a better understanding of how that tooth. You need all the help you can get. There we are. And just on this edge, a little bit of grey as a division. While I'm here, I'll show you that top as well. Now I'm here, I'm putting the very light pink in to start with. Once again, forming a base. Let's do it on the other side as well. And then remember that shadow. Follow it with the pink. Now at the moment we've got colour. This is lighter than that. But as you can see here, it needs to be darker. I've got another colour shaper which I should bring in to play as well. I'm just going to find it. This one. Now this is a pointed. That's a flat chisel. This is pointed. So I'll clean that off and then I can get into there. Because it's very important that we start putting that shadow in. There's a shadow along the top here. That's not dark enough coal. So what am I going to do about that? Well, just so happens I've got another one here. This is 233, which is a bluey grey. I need to sharpen it up there. And we can put that in there. That's on top of the other one. And this is where I need that in. So come back in a minute and that will be clean. Got a nice sharp point on that now. use it on there. Nice clean pointed colour shaper. Now what I've got to do is make that darker. It's a long old job because you did a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I'll show you as much as I can. What we've got to do now is make that even darker than that. So how do we do that? Well, I think we've got to use this colour, which is the colour I used just now. Now, I haven't done this before, so this is the first time of actually doing something on here like this. But as you can see, it's beginning to work. But it needs to be even darker. So here comes my 169, which we used here. And that will come in, and that really will be dark. And that should give me the tone that I want. I want to keep it fairly light at the base. I can always put the light back on. Just a little in there and then over here. But you should now be able to see that tooth beginning to emerge. And what I'm going to do now is put this is the 233 grey along that edge there, just to give me just a little bit of shadow. And another area is here. You might not be able to pick that up, but there's a little white edge of the tooth which is showing. And once again, if you're using this wisely and not press hard, and you're on top of base colours, you'll get the effect you want. And what I'm going to do now is mix that with the ivory, which will give me the tone that I want. And then you can leave me to do all of the rest of them. But I've spent time on this quite important. I've got another colour shade. Oh, another one, Cole. Yeah, I've got another one, folks. Up. And this is the pointed colour shaper. Same thing, you've got to make sure that you get all of that. Well, it's not critical here because we're going to be putting it into a dark area like that. But it gives me just a little bit more flexibility. I don't know whether I want very much more than that, but what I would do is to go along the edge of that, like that, putting the shadow on the tooth. Now you should be able to see that coming along really well. It looks a bit odd, I know, all the rest of the teeth, but once they're all done, it's going to look really good. Come back to my pointed colour shaper, and here I'm just going to blend that in. Now it's pretty close to that original up there. And what I'll do now is just also skirt that so we get a nice contrast between the two, like that. And then we use the white again, and that can put the brilliance on. Look at that brilliance going in. Keep the shadow there. That's the bit that recesses the tooth. And if you were really fussy, you could even do that, which gives you the very tooth-like effect. And then at the bottom, it'd be a good idea to sharpen that up as well there. You've got that little bit of light there. It's a bit obvious there, but it won't be once I put the colour shaper on. There we are. Now, I've spent a long time on that, but I think it's worth it. So I'm going to carry on with the rest of the teeth now, and I shall do this as well. So I'll show you little sections of that as we move forward. That's almost finished now. What I'm using is a general white charcoal, and it's just that little bit stronger than the 101 that I was using. And it's just put the final little touches on here. You don't have to do this, you could sharpen the 101 up and that would do the job, but this just finishes the job for me. Now this is the one that I've got to work on a little bit to bring in the white of the teeth. And then I'm just going to put a few little finishing touches to it, and then we'll present it to you. I've got to redo the lips slightly, because once you put the teeth in, you can see where you need to be. A bit fussier with the lip, but that's pretty good. I'm quite pleased with the way this is coming up. Oh, always got to remember that it is artwork. It's not the photograph. And of course, the teeth here would be quite big. If you were doing perhaps an A4 portrait, it would be much smaller than this. But this gives you a better idea by doing this to see how the process works. And just a fine little touch there. And then here. So let me just finish those lips off and then I'll present it to you. Oh, that's the finished picture. And it's come out very well. Bear in mind we were copying this picture, and every picture is going to be slightly differently executed. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you on another demonstration very, very soon. Bye for now.